Well, not only did they spread fake news with the dossier, the idea that the election was stolen, they didn't just spread it, okay? Through destabilizing the presidency and they won Pulitzers for it. Go back, grab the person by the hair who's awarding the Pulitzer for the Russia story and say, "You're an asshole!" All right, before we move on to life advice, question of the day. Now that Mueller's determined there has been no collusion, do you think that President Trump has a much stronger chance of winning re-election in 2020? What do you think the Democrats have left to campaign on? Let me know below and what your takeaways have been. I'm going to give you, it's
so incredible.
Here are the top takeaways, because it's been tough. It's tough to piecemeal the news sometimes with this. So top takeaways from the report. Let's give you some context. The Mueller investigation finally concluded. 2 years, 25 to 50 million taxpayer debt, depending on who you ask. It's really just a rounding error at that point.
That's a large span of numbers.
So
this could be here, it could be here.
Here are the top takeaways from the report, in my opinion. Number one, obviously, there's been no collusion. Even mainstream leftist news outlets like MSNBC have finally been forced, and it hurts so you can see just through their face, they have to admit the truth.
And Robert Mueller has weighed in and said that was not tacit. There was no coordination or conspiracy.
So this vindicates the president on collusion?
It does. So it would vindicate him on collusion. You have to
the pain.
Yes!
The pain.
She looked like that one Muppet Baby when it gets smashed by the other Muppet Baby with a frying pan. Just I have to be up here. So not a single charge related to the election, Russia collusion. Anyway, full stop. Okay, it's important to, by the way, something else that people have forgotten. This is the same result as 2 other already finished investigations, the Senate and House Intelligence Committees. Okay, so now 3 investigations, $25 to $50 million, depending who you ask later. Nothing. Nothing. And I know the left is going to respond. This is what you see on media. They're going, well, what about Manafort? Well, okay, sure, Manafort's an ass.
Yeah.
But that doesn't connect Trump to colluding with Russia. The investigation, this is what's important here. The investigation was not to find out if Trump was a bad guy, potentially. No. Wasn't to find out if some of his people worked in the campaign, if they did some crappy things, okay? Yeah. It wasn't even to find out if someone somewhere in connection to President Trump acted negligently. The investigation was predicated on, with the express purpose of finding direct evidence of Trump colluding with the Russians to win the election. He is squeaky clean, which amazes me.
Well, and look, they didn't say that Trump had some bad contacts. He had some influence that was outside of it. He said he colluded with the Russians to steal this election from Hillary Clinton. That was the claim the entire time. And Democrats came forward one after the other. Oh, I've seen reports, and Trump absolutely did. There's no way he's getting out of this one.
My best friend's girlfriend's sister's cousin's boyfriend knows this guy who saw Donald Trump hang out with Putin at 31 Flavors last night.
Yes.
Leftists, by the way, they're also complaining, well, what about Comey? Donald Trump obstructed the investigation. First off, the president has the right to fire Comey at will, and he did, and we already know that Comey was doing huge favors for Hillary, bringing no charges, even though he found her guilty of pretty much everything she'd been accused of doing, by the way. So the reason President Trump likely fired Comey was because, yes, he thought it was a politically motivated witch hunt.
Yeah.
Because it was a politically motivated witch hunt. How can you justify charging obstruction of justice now is what they're talking about. How can you say obstruction of justice if there's no evidence of a crime committed at all? What justice was he obstructing?
None.
It'd be like, sir, can I see your driver's license registration? Yes, officer. I think you have drugs in your car. No, officer, I do not. Well, I want to search your vehicle. I'm sorry, I don't believe that you have just cause. I'm charging you with resisting arrest. Arrested for what? And then you find out that there's nothing but a baby seat back there. And now they pivot to release. This is what we see now. Release the full report.
The full report. There's got to be something in there. Dear God, I hope.
You're not going to hear an argument from me, okay? Fine.
Do it.
Release the report. I don't care. And you know who else doesn't care? Do you know who else doesn't care? President Trump.
Yeah, no.
He's like, fine, doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me now. You want to release it? Here's the thing. The fight over releasing the report, it's not with President Trump. He's fine with it, and it's irrelevant. Just like when Democrats demanded at the Kavanaugh hearings that they include testimony from Dr. Christy Ford. We okayed that. They went through all of it. Then it was clear that Kavanaugh was innocent. They demanded a full FBI investigation, which he never opposed, and he had already been vetted by the FBI. If you were to release the full report right now, which I'm not opposed to, there's always going to be something else. And then something beyond that. They're going to continue to push the Russia collusion conspiracy theory for all time.
Yeah.
But the president has work to do. Work can't stop because people want to throw an asshole tantrum.
They're trying, though.
So here's my next takeaway, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this. One thing this entire Russian investigation, it's revealed to me, it lends a lot more credence to what was considered a conspiracy, the deep state.
Yeah.
Something that the left has routinely mocked as nothing more than craziness. Well, here you go.
The deep state is so deeply buried in its deepness, Sean Hannity had to pull it from the depths of his ass. Just to be clear, that was the nation's #1 cable news station, mainstreaming one of the far right and far left's favorite conspiracy fever dreams straight into our president's gullible eye holes.
Okay, a few problems here, beyond it being less funny than the Amy Schumer growing special, if you can believe it. You don't have to. But you don't have to take my word for it. Here are some 6-year-olds who are dead. LeVar Burton, you made them watch Amy Schumer, and now they're dead. So first, the Steele dossier. People forget about the Russia. It was the Steele dossier, okay? This is the one that included all of the charges, Russian collusion. It was created by a Democrat PR from Fusion GPS. Remember that? It was fake. And by the way, when people were talking about Trump Jr. meeting with the Russians he met with worked for Fusion GPS, okay? Somehow this goes completely ignored by the left.
That's funny.
That Trump is connected to Putin. You know what? I saw this on Twitter. Trump is connected to Putin because he went golfing with Kid Rock, who wore fantastic pants, by the way, who knows Pam Anderson, who hangs out with Julian Assange, who apparently is a Russian asset. Fusion GPS!
That's awesome.
The Steele dossier was leaked far and wide, not just to journalists, but lawmakers, top-level intelligence officials, and they used the dossier as part of the basis for this entire investigation.
And it wasn't even close to being true. It pulls in the FISA courts, they were dealing with all of this stuff.
Right.
None of this stuff was credible at all. It was way more credible that this was actually all fake and it was set up by the Democrats to hurt Donald Trump than it was that Donald Trump was sleeping with the Russians to try to get the election.
Well, we do have concrete evidence that actually top intelligence agencies, they spied on President Trump.
Yeah.
Actively worked to remove him from office. And by the way, another thing that people forget, the Steele dossier, people just think it's one thing that was disproven. No, that actually had a trickle-down effect. And it was used to push this is why it's been wall-to-wall Russia all over the media. It started with the Steele dossier. Certainly that was a catalyst for pissing prostitutes. Remember the BuzzFeed, the leak debacle?
Exactly.
This has been going on. So the question here is there a deep state? All right, let me answer. If you mean, is there a bipartisan coalition in top levels of government that actively conspired to destabilize a legitimate president and call into question free and fair elections, and the media was complicit? One could say yes.
That sounds kind of
They were literally trying to remove a fairly elected president from office through proactive deception. Let that sink in. And before it sinks in, then, remember, they also want to do away with the Electoral College.
Oh, Lord. But it was her turn, Stephen. It was her turn.
It was time.
The ends justify the means.
Here's the takeaway 3, and I know people think we've been repeating this ad nauseum, but this is very important to talk about today. The media, okay, it's broken. It's almost hard to even begin to express the true depths of your failure. The past 2 years, every network, take your pick, publications, they push this idea that Trump colluded with Russia nonstop. And by the way, we all said, hey, listen, we hope that we get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
They said, if you don't believe us, then you're clearly part of the alt-right. I'm like, well, hold on a second. If he colluded with Russia, I want this guy to go out. Yeah. But I also want the guy to be able to do his job. They accuse anyone who didn't follow with them lockstep, just like they accused anyone who lived in the Great Lakes and didn't believe that the lakes would be gone by the year 2017, that we were stupid.
Yeah, they weren't even trying to have an investigation. They weren't saying it's possible. They were saying this is fact, and you have to believe it. And so much so that everybody thought we had an illegitimate president on the left.
Right.
They thought that there was no way that this actually happened, and justice must be served.
Right.
And it makes people go crazy. They feel like they have no recourse because somebody stole an election. How do you fix that?
Well, not only did they spread fake news with the dossier, the idea that the election was stolen, they didn't just spread it, okay? Through destabilizing the presidency and trying. They won Pulitzers for it. So keep in mind, again, this is important. Now, go back in your DeLorean right now. We have the report 3, okay? No Russia collusion. Go back, grab the person by the hair who's awarding the Pulitzer for the Russia story and say, "You're an asshole! You're an asshole!"
Don't they at least have to change the word for fiction now?
I have no idea.
Is there some thing they have to go back?
Well, it's like when they gave Obama the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, in advance.
They just assumed that the mulatto guy who looks like the photo negative of Alfred Newman would bring world peace. Yeah. Never mind that he was the first president to be at war for 8 years ever throughout history. I think his entire 8 years was constantly at war.
That's a tough one.
It's the same with Trump. They knew the Russia collusion was real, so they began handing out awards for the coverage. It didn't matter if it were true or false. And what's the worst part about all this? The media is entirely unapologetic. Now that we know the entire narrative was fake, our anchors, Are they offering apologies at CNN? No. Dead Johnny Mathis is too busy hosting lemon parties in his Upper West Side high-rise. Takeaway number 4. Even after Mueller found zero evidence of collusion, I guess I should label this so we have 4. Leftist conspiracy theorists. They think that this exists solely on the right. Yeah. The conspiracy. Here? Can we, does this one count?
Come on, this has to count.
Oh, it doesn't count because the New York Times wrote about it. Understand. Okay.
Oh.
So Democrats in politics and the media, they're still pushing the conspiracy theory. They're even inventing more conspiracies like completely unproven cover-ups.
Did the Democrats put too much trust in the Mueller report? Because I don't need the Mueller report to know he's a traitor. I have a TV.
I'll tell you what I see from my perspective. You have a president who, in my opinion, beyond the shadow of a doubt, sought to, however ham-handedly, collude with the Russian government, a foreign power, to undermine and influence our elections.
It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here.
Well, I mean, theoretically, it could happen, right?
It feels like it. And Bill Maher says, I know because I watch a TV, namely when I'm on. Do you see this echo chamber? This feedback loop? I know because I watch a TV. What's fake news? Anything that's not on TV. What about you? I'm a comedian. Where do you get your news? On TV? Who's on TV? Comedians. You're an asshole! Remember how Democrats, they warned that conservatives had to respect the results of the Mueller report?
Yes. Yeah.
Suddenly that's all changed. And by the way, they're saying, I just heard on CNN yesterday when I was watching this Sunday morning, I can't remember, I mean, they're all so inconsequential, but she goes, listen, isn't it inconsistent for conservatives to now say that the Mueller report vindicates them when they didn't want it to happen? It's like, no, hold on a second. It's not inconsistent because they believe it was a politically motivated witch hunt, and even with that motive, they still could find nothing. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we like Mueller. It just means that even with and he really wanted a reason to make it stick.
We weren't praising Mueller, we were praising the report. The report came out, and it was true.
And by the way, I'm sure the report is probably worse than it even needed to be. Like, he didn't use the microfiber cloth on a laptop, and he scratched it. And,
he's an a-hole. That's going to cost $500 to fix.
It's just like with the election. Remember, they kept lecturing Republicans that they had to respect the results of the election. Do anything else will destroy the country, would undermine the very tapestry of our Constitution. If the Constitution were knitted, I think. I don't understand that analogy when they say tapestry. I'm like, it's a paper. This is when they thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Right.
When Trump won, we're a little murky on the rule book. They still believe Trump colluded with Russia despite no evidence, just like they believed that Brett Kavanaugh ran rape gangs in high school and was lighting candles in effigy to a ram's head while putting your teenage daughter in a devil's triangle. Can you think of any other story that has gotten this much coverage from media based on the presumption of a factual base, which turned out to be completely false? Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
This has been going on for years. They've been screaming collusion for years, and people have been getting Pulitzers for screaming collusion. We now know beyond any shadow of a doubt that there was no collusion, so now they're trying to say that Trump obstructed the investigation of a crime that he never committed. This is never going to end. This is what I think the most important takeaway here is. If we're talking, when the left, when people like Pelosi, when people have to say, I'm a centrist man, and we need to come together, and we need to find solutions, I guarantee you, this is never going to end. As soon as the report hit Pelosi's desk, she just said, well, we're just gonna find something else to sue him for. Guarantee you. That's what's going on. These people have no interest in finding common ground. These people have no interest in the constitutional republic that is the United States. They just want to make something stick on this guy, be it true or false, and give each other awards for it. And by the way, anyone, if you're trying to do a job, think of it this way. And investigators are constantly breaking down your doors, seizing your tools, bringing your friends and employees into depositions, taking your computers. Anyone would be pissed and call it a witch hunt if you knew that they were accusing you of something you didn't do. So if you go back in your DeLorean, look at President Trump's behavior, okay? Look at how people are saying, look how erratic he is. Look, what an asshole. But now, I want you to change it. Put that in the context of the undeniable fact that he didn't do anything wrong. Just like Brett Kavanaugh was pissed because he knew that he didn't do anything wrong. People give him all that flack, like, why are you angry, Brett? Because you called me a gang rapist. And this upsets you as a judge? No, it upsets me as a not gang rapist. Donald Trump
seems reasonable.
It seems almost reasonable. Donald Trump says, you fake news. Why are you upset? Because I didn't do anything with the Russians. And you're mad that we're saying you did? You need a thicker skin. If you look at it through that prism, anybody would go crazy. Genuinely think of how pissed you would be if at your workplace you were harassed, ready to investigate, hamstrung as to your ability to complete your job, and all of these nasty rumors. I don't know. Let's picture they were being posted on the Office blog, despite you knowing beyond any shadow of a doubt that it's not true. That's what President Trump has had to deal with with only on a global scale. Tell me you wouldn't be pissed. And tell me now that you don't think a pissed President Trump wins re-election. Hey there, if you like this video, subscribe or click one of these videos playing in a box. You know what? Hit the notification bell, because subscriptions don't really mean anything anymore, especially if you're not 18 or older, at the very least logged into YouTube as 18 or older, because sometimes people are 25 but they don't know how to use the YouTube system properly, and then you never just hit the notification bell or you hate yourself.